Hey everybody, welcome. So we are here today with a new guest speaker, Layah Partow. It's Layah, correct? I want to make sure I'm pronouncing it correctly.
Exactly right.
Yay, okay, just want to make sure. Okay, so I'm here with Layah, and she's going to be sharing with us some cool information about the world of Pilates. And there's, a lot of times we hear about Pilates, it's like, oh, it's for dancers, or it was started with dance, or I've done it before. I've seen like different Pilates studios in my area, but never really knew what it was about. Or maybe you went with a friend and, tried it once or whatever. But I went through a phase in my life, probably about a year. I think I started doing it when I was, I don't know, probably like 10 years ago. A friend of mine who I was training, we were doing triathlons together. Her and I were training. And she's like, let's go take a Pilates class at the gym. I'm like, okay, that sounds good. So we went and I fell in love with it. It was so cool. And actually put a pause. I'm not sure what that sound is. I put a pause on my triathlon training and got into Pilates. And it was, I think that's why I thought, when I was telling you earlier, that how much my body had changed because had completely changed my fitness, my routine, I guess you would say, like what I was doing had changed. And I just felt so lengthened. I just felt so connected with what was happening in my body, like so mindful and just so connected. And just like, moving your arms through space, moving your legs through space, but being very intentional about it. So anyway, I miss that and I love it. As I'm talking about it, I can't wait to go back. But anyway, so welcome to Layah. She's here with us, Layah Partow. So she's going to share with us all this great info about this world of Pilates and beyond just daily fitness, but also physical therapy, healing, and how it can help with aging and injury prevention and injury recovery and just, I don't know, just feeling good overall, I'm assuming, right? That's how I felt when I did it. So yeah. Okay, awesome. All right, so welcome. So let me introduce you. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit more about Layah. So she began her Pilates career through injury rehabilitation. After a major car accident, she underwent multiple procedures over a period of 4 years, including a major spinal injury during lockdowns. Ooh. Pilates was the first thing she found that truly gave her relief and helped her reclaim her life. She now has a passion for sharing the gift of Pilates with other people. And whether you are in retirement years and working on functional mobility, or are an athlete looking for high intensity but a safe training regimen, her heart is to come alongside you and help you reach your goals. Because with a strong and healthy body, there's nothing you cannot do. Oh yeah, amen. That's so true. So true. Okay, so again, this is perfect for us in this Ageless Body Blueprint course group and just with my private clients as well, and anybody who works with me or is watching this video. We're all about working on ageless beauty, improving our overall wellness, our fitness, for injury prevention, for longevity, so we can easily get up and down off the floor as we age. We can play with our kids and our grandkids and not struggle, right, to make it a little easier. This week, we've been talking about fitness 2 weeks ago in our group, and then we just finished our lesson on mindfulness. So this is like, it goes together perfectly. Yeah, and I just love finding ways for women to better connect with their bodies and then gain healing and longevity in the process. So, and just becoming more mindful of their movement overall. So this is perfect for us. Okay, so let's go a little bit deeper and allow Layah to share with us everything about mobility, healing, self-care, and so on. So anyway, welcome again. Okay, so tell us a little bit about yourself. We'll start there and the population you serve. I know there's a lot of people, but go ahead and share with us.
Sure. You kind of mentioned it, but I got into this after a really bad car accident about 5 years ago now. I had never done Pilates before. I really didn't even have a reference for what it was. It was like a word that I would hear in like fancy movies sometimes, though I had no idea what it was. And I had sports. I was kind of athletic, and then bam, this car accident, like overnight, all of that is gone. And over the course of a few years, I think the tally is something like 7 different procedures and surgeries on my spine. And with every single one, I just became more discouraged because I never actually felt any better. And so during COVID lockdowns is when I had kind of the big one, the big surgery, and my pain experience was unaltered. And I went back to the neurosurgeon and I said, okay, well, this, what's going on? I don't feel any better. I feel worse. And at that point, they said, well, you can start using segments of your spine, but we really are not sure if that would help because nothing else has. Here's a prescription for whatever drugs you need, and like, good luck with your broken back. And so
Mhm.
at that point, like, all the love to modern medicine, I'm grateful for so much, but in my particular case, it wasn't what my body needed. And so I was very fortunate. I knew someone who knew someone who knew someone who knew someone who lived out of state that I'd never even been, who had tried this Pilates thing and said, hey, I think maybe that could help you. My first stop was actually at a club Pilates, which is a major place a lot of people have heard of. Great place, actually worked there for a while. But I was so busted, they couldn't help me. This is kind of beyond where we jumped in. I ended up finding a small private studio. I started with something called Red Cord, which is like kind of a precursor, moved my way into Pilates because I started feeling better within about 30 days after 5 years.
Wow.
So I actually was rehabilitating from my surgery while I went through teacher training.
Wow.
So it happened really, really fast. I fell in love with it. I realized, like, I'm going to need this forever. I'm going to want this forever. Let me go all in. So
Wow.
that's how I got into it. As far as
Hmm.
population that I serve, literally humans with bodies.
Okay.
That's the boundary. I have men, I have women, I have ages as young as 12, as old as 85, and
Mm.
everybody in between. I have bigger bodies, I have smaller bodies, I have taller bodies, I have petite bodies, I have bodies that are athletic, I have bodies with major injuries. Um, everybody, and it looks different for different people, and their goals are sometimes different. But I don't believe there's a single body on the world that wouldn't benefit from this.
Mm.
I really believe that very strongly.
That's really cool. So what kinds of things, I think maybe it's my mic, I don't know what's going on. Anyway, um, what kinds of things are kind of common reasons why people would come to you
Ooh,
for help? There's probably a
gosh.
lot, but what are some of the more
But I mean,
common?
I think when people read my biography online, they hear my story. For me personally, I get a lot of people with injuries and with surgical histories. My most recent new client was run over by a car while she was riding her bike.
Wow.
An ex NBA player who had multiple surgeries, like on his ankle. I mean, everybody. I see
Okay.
injuries. I think mostly because of who I am. In the Pilates world, you do get a lot of injuries, a lot of people who graduate from physical therapy to us or use us as physical therapy, depending on the severity of their situation. We do also get athletic people who maybe they're really strong in the gym, but their core is not very strong or they're not very flexible. I also work with specialty populations, so prenatal, postnatal, leading up to and then recovering from the birthing process. I also teach a senior citizens population specifically. Kind of everybody.
Okay.
It's a broad scale, but yeah, lots of
Okay.
those.
Yeah, I'm wondering too, as we're talking about that. So women, as we age, so there's, a lot of times you hear about older people having falls or hurting themselves or slipping and falling or tripping or, the hip injuries. Um, how can Pilates kind of help prevent
Oh,
injury or balance? There's probably a million things, but why would it be important for women listening who are
yeah,
40 plus do Pilates to prevent injury or increase longevity?
sure. Obviously, 40 is not considered the seniors population, but if we're talking about seniors population or people who are, looking into that age, like maybe you're only 35, but you're like, I want to be rocking and rolling when I'm 85. Like, I would put
Right.
that category as far as goals go. So the strength training aspect of Pilates actually helps to increase bone density. So it literally makes your bones harder to break. Which is pretty crazy. I didn't know that. Like power lifters, when they're doing deadlifts, they're actually creating micro traumas in their bones, which then creates more bone being made. It's the craziest thing ever. The body is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Is a huge part of what we do. So when I am teaching any class, there's a balance aspect. When I'm teaching my seniors population specifically, balance is a huge aspect, because the thing that I see the most is in my seniors, like moving from 2-story to 1-story houses, because they're genuinely that afraid of falling. And falling is a big deal as we get older. We
Yeah.
work with something called proprioception, which is just a sciencey word for I know where my body is in space. The example I use for that is if you were in your own home and all the lights were out, you could probably walk up and down your stairs because your brain kind of has a map of how many stairs there are, even if you've not sat there and counted. But if you were walking up and down someone else's staircase in the dark, that's a lot harder. And so proprioception is kind of this brain map where even if your eyes are closed, you can feel where you are in space. You're aware of yourself. And that's huge for preventing falls. And it's also
Mm.
great for athletics as well. Maybe you're, younger and you're in great shape, but you are in a sport like cycling or horseback riding, or really any sport involves a little bit of balance. So bone density. It's also great for posture, which I think, again, any age group, but especially our seniors, we tend to see a lot of roundedness in the shoulders from the typing and the texting and the sitting and the driving. And so pulling that back up and strengthening through our stabilizers generally makes us less prone to injury, even in the realm of accidents, and also in the realm of fitness and other pursuits as well. So it hits, all of those buttons. It really
Yeah.
does.
When I think of Pilates, I think of core strength and stability.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, as you're talking, I was reminded of a few years back, my mom was visiting us at home, and she was taking pictures of the kids or something. We were having a party, and then all of a sudden I don't know, my speaker thing. Anyway, all of a sudden she fell, and then she went to the doctor, and they're like, "Oh, because your core strength is so weak that when you fall, you don't you can't control your body." So I kind of, is that something that would be
Absolutely.
helpful?
One of the things that we'll talk about is, like, you'll hear stories sometimes of, I don't know, a linebacker bending over to pick up a pencil and like throwing out their back. That pencil was not heavy, right? That's not a weight issue. But the stability issue. We'll talk about the body like it's a hard boiled egg. If you're not cooked in the middle, if the middle is runny, it doesn't matter how
Mm,
the outside is, there's an instability there. And so we focus, you'll get your big muscle groups, your biceps and your quads and all that stuff. But a lot of the focus, to your point, is the stability, the stabilizers, the transverse abdominis, right? The sciencey muscle groups that, like, most of us don't even know what they're called, right?
right.
All stuff. And speed is actually a big part of what we do, meaning slowness. So your
Hmm.
body has these built-in biases of working certain muscle groups if you do something quick, and
Right.
working muscle groups if you do the same thing slower. And
Hmm.
so combine both of those things to engage all the different fibers in your body.
Wow, that's really cool. I know my hopefully I can fix my mic. But anyway, my mom, yeah, she was struggling, and the doctor's like, "Well, you need to strengthen your middle." I'm like, that makes so much sense. And just being able to like move your arms away from your body and feel stable, or even like, I'm just like holding grocery bags or luggage,
Luggage in
just
the overhead compartment, totally.
to be able to move. No, our smoke alarm's going off. My son's cooking.
Okay.
It's one of those days. Being at home. Anyway, oh, he's taking care of it. Okay. Anyway, and it just smelled smoke. I'm like, what's going on in our
Oh,
house?
I can just he's
Maybe he
like
can get it.
fanning the
I know.
thing. Like, great stuff.
I think it's slowing down. Oh, he's got it. Okay. Yeah, he does that exactly. Yeah, you know, right? Okay. Anyway, looks like it's better. Okay. So where was I? Yeah. So talking about injury prevention. So I think that's a big one, and also like getting up and down off the floor. That's another big one for women in my population. We're probably between like 47 and 75
Okay.
in my group. So what would be helpful? I mean, I'm sure Pilates is for mobility, but like getting up and down, is that something
Something
that
like,
would
is
help?
that we work on, do you mean?
Yeah,
Or
yeah. With Pilates doing that, it would help with that.
yeah, in indirect and indirect and in indirect ways, yes.
Okay.
Um, During class, you physically have to get up and down, and then also do exercises that create those movements. So depending on what machine, are you using the floor? Are you using reformer machine? Are you using the tower apparatus? There's a lot of options. But if we're talking specifically about the reformer machine, and for those who don't know what it is, it's kind of like a long bed that moves forward and back. And the origins, actually, it was a hospital bed originally. That's where Joe.
Really?
Yeah, we can talk about the history if you want. I'm a nerd.
I would love to. Yes. Anyway, go ahead. Tell me about that. Or
Yes.
the reformer.
Kind of push, pull. There's all these different movements, and we create the muscles and the movement and the flexibility for the sit to stand. But also, the sit to stand is also something that we do. So it's absolutely in there. And the sit to stand test is actually something that you might do in a one-on-one assessment. Like, can you go from seated to standing without using your hands? Now, for some
Oh,
people, the answer is yes. For some people, the answer is like, heck no, I'm not even going to try that, right? But that's important. Same thing with, we have an exercise called the teaser, which is a very kind of a famous Pilates move. If you've ever done Pilates, you've probably seen this done. And I like to consider it functionally. I'm getting out of bed in the morning and no one has to lift me. And I don't
Mm-hmm.
limbs. And so everything is at its base deeply functional. It's meant to improve quality of life. That's the design.
Yeah,
Um,
right. I love that.
so Joe Pilates was the guy who invented it. He was German. And it's a very long story, a lot of nuance, but he actually ended up, due to his German nationality, he was in a prisoner of war camp at one point.
Mm.
And Pilates, people will joke that Pilates was born in prison. It kind of was, if you think about it. And so in this prison environment, you have all types of bodies, people with injuries or people who are simply stagnant. And he knew from his personal journey as a kid, he had like rickets and asthma and like physically was not well off. As an adult, he became a professional athlete. So his journey led him to this kind of intuitive discovery, which we now know scientifically, which is atrophy. Like you could be young, you could be elderly, you could be in great shape, you could be whatever, it doesn't matter. If you just sit there, you atrophy. It's the way it is. And so his big brilliant idea was you could be so disabled or so infirm or so injured or so whatever that you literally can't get out of bed. So that person's not just going to start doing push-ups, but they got to be able to do something. And so the original designs, and you can actually find black and white pictures and videos of Joe Pilates in a hospital bed with a gurney attached to it, springs attached to the gurney, moving his arms and moving his legs. And that's where the birth of Pilates came from. Uh-oh, I can't hear you. Oh, no.
Okay. Where did the dance part of it come in? The dance part, because I know that was a thing.
Yeah. So after the war, he and his wife immigrated to New York City, and they, I guess, coincidentally set up camp near Juilliard. And they kind of gained this reputation for fixing the broken ballerinas, because in any competitive sport, you have injuries. And so there became kind of this relationship. Pilates is not and was not dance, but because ballet was there kind of in the beginning, there is some terminology crossover. For example, we sometimes use the word releve, which is a ballet term, basically a cat phrase, but there is an adaptation of that movement, and there's some crossover in that way, but mostly due, again, to that relationship being there at the beginning. It's not an official dance function. Great for dancers, for sure.
That's neat. So how did you, for yourself, what kinds of things did you do to help yourself recover from your accident? Like, what it just a general, anyway, go ahead and explain.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot in the sense of physical. Pilates was really it. Pilates and then manual therapies, things like massage and like medical massage, not like
Okay.
you like medical massage.
Right.
Tactics I at points was in dry needling, which some people think it's acupuncture. It's not acupuncture. It's actually a manual stimulation of the muscles. A lot of manual therapies, cupping, things of that nature. But then there's also the nervous system aspect. And a lot of people I find, whether it's from injuries or stress or even trauma backgrounds, all of the above, a lot of us, even just like the fast-paced world we live in, our nervous system tends to be really fired up. And it's so interesting when I'm teaching, I can see that in people's bodies. And it manifests in things like looking around or twitching your hands or like chewing on your cheeks or like clenching your jaw or like looking up. And it's so unconscious. We don't even realize we're doing it, clenching your shoulders.
Yes.
This for a second, you're going to feel, oh, that doesn't feel good. But we do it and we don't know it. And it manifests in the classroom. And so we never want people to feel judged or self-conscious. But we will say those things like, just let your shoulders just drop.
Mm-hmm.
Let your fingers just open. And
Mm-hmm.
just breathe. And in that way, we help the physical body heal, because the nervous system is very important to the healing of your physical body. We also help like the mental state. And then there are also exercises that we do that involve the movement of your hips and your spine. And so your nervous system essentially runs through your spine. And so when you move your spine, when you roll your body, it literally sends signals to your brain that like you're okay, which is one of why people feel sometimes almost euphoric after a class, because they've given that love to the body, and It's so crazy to me that that's even a thing, but you feel it. You feel kind of that
Yes.
lightness. Your posture starts to open, all that tension starts to melt away, and our bodies like to exercise. Like, we don't always like to exercise, but our bodies love it. And so if you can be consistent, even for just a few weeks, your body will start to crave that in the same way it craves water when you're thirsty. But if you
Yeah.
get a habit, the craving goes away. It's just
Yeah.
a weird way that it works.
I know, that's amazing. So tell me the difference between using the reformer and a mat. Is it similar or are they different?
So it's similar in the sense that the terminology is going to be the same, and some of the movements are going to be the same, technically. But
Okay.
I would say that depending on the body,
Hmm.
reformer tends to be more supportive.
Okay.
People see the reformer machine, it looks kind of scary, and they're like, "Oh my god!" But it's the hospital bed. It's designed to support you. So if you're
Okay.
trying exercise and your body is just not that flexible or that strong, or you don't have that range of motion, that machine kind of makes it up for you. It helps you out. Mat Pilates is still great. That would be just like on the floor.
Oop. Oh no, where did she go? Let's see. Hang on. Let me pause the recording. We were talking about mat Pilates. You're about to share about mat Pilates.
With supervision, meaning like in a one-on-one or a virtual assessment or something like that, I still think mat Pilates is excellent for all populations. But I do firmly believe that mat Pilates should only be done with supervision or by someone with a decent amount of Pilates experience. Because again, without the machine, if the exercise in its fullest expression is not yet accessible to your body, there's not really any way getting out of it except for not doing the exercise or potentially doing the exercise wrong. So that's the only caveat with that. I do have even virtual clients who just do mat Pilates with me virtually, and including people with some pretty serious injuries. And we're able to get the work done, but I'm monitoring them very closely and making sure that everything's good.
Right.
And then the other thing is you can always add props to your mat Pilates, things like a ball or a band, or there are even certain straps that I recommend that can help mimic that reformer experience if purchasing a reformer or going to a studio are not accessible to you. So there are a lot of
Got it. Yeah, I remember we had those little hoop thingies we used to
yes.
put between our legs. It was just so cool. Like just I remember some of those like weightlifter guys, they would try to do it and
Yeah.
they would die because it was so fluid. Yeah. It was so fluid and just so intentional and slow because they're just used to like throwing weights around and moving. It was
There,
always so funny to watch them. But for them, for anybody, I mean, like I was saying, for them, that'd be so great because it just makes you more aware of what you're doing, but then also strengthens your body in a different way.
yes.
So I would that always cracked me up. Okay. Okay. Let me see. I think I had another one for you. Okay. So, oh yeah. So how can we add this into our how often should we do it? Frequency, amount of time, how many times a week? How do we add this into our daily fitness routine? Like if let's say like a couple days a week we're doing strength training and then, maybe a couple days a week some cardio. How do we or can we substitute? Tell me how do we do this? Oh, she left again. Oh no. Hang on. Okay.
Doing that. I'm so sorry.
Actually it works.
Um,
I can pause the video so it works fine. So okay.
okay. So,
So oh yeah, but putting it
adding
into your
into their
daily.
routine. Yes. So, the first thing, of course, is what are you doing currently, if anything? And so, um, Pilates, if done in the traditional way, is actually gentle enough. It can be done every single day. You don't have to take a rest day, although I do encourage at least one. Just to be extra nice to yourself. I just think it's really important to have one day where you're reconnecting. But from a physical perspective, Pilates doesn't typically require the same amount of recovery time that like weightlifting or Orange Theory or something like that would do. As a general rule of thumb, doing Pilates twice a week is great.
Okay.
If you can do it 3 times a week, even better. I would say that's kind of a sweet spot, but you could also do it 4, 5, or 6, depending on if you're doing other stuff. I do absolutely recommend having some very specific form of moving your body at least 3 times a week, moving your body less than 3 times a week in an intentional manner. Even if one of those days is going for an hour-long walk or something like that, that's great. Going for a swim, something. But anything less like that, it can be very hard for your body to get into a rhythm, and it can be very hard to stick with it. That's the other thing I find. So what's interesting is sometimes if someone comes to me for one-on-ones of personal training, they'll say, okay, I want to just start with one and like work my way up. And I will typically tell them, listen, if it's a matter of cost or available time or something where you don't feel like you can do 3 times a week forever, start with 3 and work your way down. I really believe that, because you want to really jump in. You want to give your body a chance to experience everything. You want to give your body a chance to start craving it, start finding that rhythm. Anything less than that, and I find that if I have a client that comes once a week, they're more likely than any other client to stop coming back.
I could see that. Yeah.
Yep.
You have to really get a feel for it and really like
You too.
crave it,
You do.
begin to
And
crave
you
it.
think, like, if you put anything off for too long, if you put laundry off for 48 hours, you're putting it off for 48 more. You know what I mean? Like we
Yeah.
tend to be that way. So
Yeah.
the
No, it's true.
consistency, even if it's a stretch class one of the days or something
Okay.
gentler, just having that movement is great.
That's true. I could see that. So then how would somebody get started? I know you're in Georgia and we're all
Yes.
over everyone here is all over the place.
Yes.
So I know that there's different like boutique studios and franchises and things. I mean, is that like so-so? Are those good? I mean, what would you recommend for somebody to get started in their area? Or
Absolutely.
videos?
So there's me and there's other people. Okay. For me, if you live in Georgia, you can come see me, or I do offer virtual training. If
Oh,
you're
cool.
looking for something in person where you are not in Georgia, I always say just read the reviews. I think that's a lot of it. The most popular and the most accessible option is typically like your Club Pilates, which is your franchise. So it's kind of corporate, but not really. There are certain rules and stipulations that Club Pilates is required to follow. And they have a certain training program that they implement and follow. I did work there for a while, so lots of good things to say about them.
Okay.
What I will say is, your teacher may have any amount of training to work there. Your teacher might just have Club Pilates training, or your teacher might have an extensive background. I personally, depending on, who you are, if you're someone that's already in really great shape and you're just looking to supplement, I don't think it matters quite so much. If you're someone that's in a more gentle population, or you're coming from injuries, I like to be a little bit picky about who I'm going to. You
Okay.
can also research just local boutique studios. I personally like to find a place that offers reformer, especially if you are coming from an injury background, because that reformer can support you. But yeah, just researching Pilates near me. If you see reformer Pilates, it is a contemporary studio, and that's the most
Oh,
common.
okay.
Classical Pilates is also excellent. It
Okay.
tends to be more pricey, but
Okay.
they will offer multiple pieces of equipment. And if it's in your budget, highly recommend that also.
Okay, that's good. So I was thinking just too about bar. That bar is a
Bar,
thing. Is
yeah,
it
I
anything like it?
know a lot
I've
about
kind of
it.
seen it, but not really done it.
Yeah.
I was just curious, like, yeah, it's a
I don't know too much about it.
yeah.
I know there's some crossover. I see the crossover I see the most is between weightlifting and Pilates.
Oh,
Um, but I'm sure it's great. I think, to me,
yeah,
the thing that you should do is the thing that you like to do that makes you feel good, because that's the only thing you'll stick with.
that's true. So true. I know. It's
If
the
you
thing. It's
hate
like
it, you'll either quit or I'm so sorry. You want to find something that you like.
true. So true. No, I agree. I mean, like when I was into it, I had no idea. I'm like, oh, I'll go to the class. And
Yeah.
like, I like the way I felt. I want to go again. Like you begin to crave the
Yeah.
thing, and like I'm
Totally.
just gonna stick with it. And it was great, and I really loved it. Just being aware of my movement, and it
Mm.
was just a whole different level.
Yeah.
Okay, so then as far as working with you virtually, how does a session go for that, or how does that work?
Sure. So what I like to do is an initial assessment. So I'll typically send out a questionnaire. You'll shoot that back to me. And then from that point, we meet virtually, kind of like this, and we go over the questionnaire, and that'll cover everything from tell me about the condition of your body, tell me about any injuries or limitations you might have, whether it's, an injury, a fused spine, osteoporosis, like whatever it is you're dealing with. And then what are your goals? And I'm very honest. Like if you have a goal that is not what I do, I will tell you. But most
Okay.
people are just looking to get stronger and feel better, and that's what I do. From there, if someone has a reformer machine, I can teach them on the reformer machine very
Oh,
easily. If
that's fun.
someone doesn't, I have a recommended list of props and straps and things that they can get if they'd like. They
Mhm.
can work without them too, but they can be helpful if you're not
Okay.
already like super strong,
Mhm.
to give us a little more options, and they're pretty affordable, and we
Okay.
can use those. The biggest
Okay.
thing is that it's something that they're comfortable with. I can't put my hands on your body and physically correct you if I'm not there, but
Mm.
if I can see you and you can hear me, it works pretty well, actually.
Okay. Yeah, and that's one of the post-COVID blessings was like the
It is.
opportunity to do those things. Before, I remember
It is.
just with my nutrition practice, it was harder to meet with clients one-on-one via Zoom because it didn't feel safe or
Sure.
comfortable just because of it. But yeah, but now that it's more normal, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, we got this.
It's pretty
Yeah.
normal. I have a
Yeah.
few of those, and sometimes even clients that I see in person, if they're traveling and they don't want to have to stop, they take, one pair of straps in their suitcase and we work out in the hotel room, and it
Mm.
works.
Yeah, that's really good. So any video, I mean, I don't know how much you know about other like options, but
Yeah.
is there online videos that people do, or I'm trying to think of
Yeah,
how when we can
so
implement.
something that I'm working on, but I don't have off the
Mhm.
ground yet, is I'm actually
Yeah.
looking to host once weekly virtual classes on the mat.
Oh, yeah.
It's not up and running yet. It's like I'm
Mhm.
in the beginning stages of that, but that's something I'd
Okay.
like to eventually offer. It's something
Okay.
that other people out there in the world offer.
Okay.
So you can, use your Facebook, use your Instagram, use your YouTube, research.
Mhm.
I think the biggest thing is to find someone who communicates in a way that you can understand,
Mhm.
because Pilates does include a lot of terminology that can sometimes be confusing when you're first starting out. And so you want to find a trainer that kind of can meet you where you are in that sense.
Mhm.
But yeah, virtual options. There are classes, like I said, on YouTube, or if you
Mhm.
find a person on Facebook or Instagram and you just really like their videos, check their bio. They might offer virtual classes, which a class is always going to be more financially accessible than a one-on-one.
Yeah, that
So
was my next question. So what's the
yeah.
I used to do it in a group. So, what are the main benefits? I mean, I can kind of imagine, but what are the main benefits between doing a group class and then working with you one-on-one?
Yeah. Um, I would say, group classes are great for the financial aspect because they're always going to
Mhm.
be more affordable.
Mhm.
Group classes can also be a great way to keep you motivated,
Mhm.
especially if you have friends or make friends at the studio where you go. If you become acquainted with your teacher, there can be a real excitement and a real accountability there to going
Mhm.
into the group room, for sure. And there are some people who, especially I find my seniors population, they'll arrive like 45 minutes early and just sit and chat because they're like, I just want to hang out.
Social time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think
Mhm.
that's great. And then, in the one-on-one environment, there is an accountability there too, because
Mhm.
I schedule you and I will make sure that you get there to the best of my ability.
Yeah.
And then of course in the one-on-one environment, it's much more particular to you and your not only your body and correcting your body, but also your needs. I can customize to you in a way that I really can't when I've got 12 other people that I'm watching. In the group environment, if you have a strong instructor, that instructor will walk around and make corrections to the best of their ability. But I mean, like, have one kid or have 12 kids. Like, it's not the same. But there are benefits to both, I think. And again, I think
Yeah.
it's about knowing yourself. To me, the sweet spot is a little bit of both.
Okay.
Um, taking that one-on-one knowledge and then having a group class for fun and to like implement that knowledge without me once in a
Oh, well, that's
while,
true. I could see that. That'd be nice. Yeah, because you really
yeah,
know your body, because it's tailored to you, so you really know your body, and then you could use
yeah.
that, yeah, in a class.
It gets
Okay.
to a point when I take
Mhm.
classes, the studio I work has multiple rooms. So what
Mhm.
I'll do at this point is I'll actually take the class going on in a big room from a little private room around the corner where I can't see anything. And so I have to just
Oh,
hear, and it's
wow.
remarkably challenging, but in a really great
Wow. That's next level. That's really neat.
Yeah, it's listen, but it's
Mhm.
great.
Yeah, it sounds like
You
it.
can get
So,
there for sure.
no, yeah, it sounds really good. Okay, so then we're gonna kind of switch gears a little bit. I'm
Sure.
completely excited to know more, or for you to share about the retreat side of you, because
Oh,
that's like a whole nother amazing thing.
it
I see
is.
that
Yes.
I'm like,
So,
she's my
um,
people. It's so cool. So go. So you do the one-on-one.
mhm.
Are you doing groups too? Are you
I
doing groups?
teach groups in studio. I'm not teaching group classes virtually
Yeah.
yet, but I'm
Okay.
hoping to soon.
Okay. So there,
Yeah.
what is there a name of the studio that you work at in Georgia?
Yeah. It's in the city of Atlanta, and it's just
Uh-huh.
called the Studio Pilates.
Okay. So if
Yeah.
anybody's there or on vacation,
Come
the
on
Studio
by.
Pilates, have
Yeah.
fun. Yeah.
Jump in. Totally.
That's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah. So then you have that,
Mhm.
and then some virtual stuff. Okay. And then the retreat stuff. So that's a whole
Yeah.
nother thing that I was like, that's another world that I eventually want to get to. It sounds like so much fun. But
Yes.
anyway, so tell us about your retreats and what you've done and what's involved and all that stuff.
Yeah. So I am just over the moon in love with Pilates, as hopefully you can tell, and I am over the moon in love with travel. And there was a time where the physical pain that I had in my body made travel really, really difficult for me.
Mm.
And I think it's really important that your movement practice supports the dreams and the goals that you have. Whether I have clients who are training because they have a 3-year-old grandchild and they want to be able to dance at that grandchild's wedding in 18 years or whatever. So,
Mm.
you need to have a vision for what you want. For me, travel was a big part of that. And I love connecting with people who also love to travel and love to go on adventures. And so I have this business, and I like to call it kind of a relaxation, restoration, adventure, luxury hybrid.
Ooh.
Um, I've seen some retreats where you kind of go like to the middle of nowhere and you like eat berries and you're very, very quiet. And I don't think that's bad. I think there's a time and a place. But to me, if I'm going to go all the way across the pond, I want to see some stuff and I want to
Mm.
do some stuff. And
Yeah,
so
experience.
for
Mhm.
me, that is restorative. So I have this retreat business and it's a fully customized retreat. My prices are always inclusive of everything except the flight, or if you want to go shopping or something. And basically, what I do is I pick gorgeous destinations that are on my and many other people's bucket list, and we go there. And when I say custom, so what that means is, for example, last year my retreat was in Greece.
Mm.
And I gave a lot of options. I said, listen, if you would like to sit by the beach and read a book, and that's what like gives you what you need, feel free to do that. And I had a client that did that. She opted out of some of the excursions. She brought a couple great books and she just read and slept, and
Mm.
it got her out of her environment, and it was exactly what she needed. I had another married couple, who came and they were like, oh, we want to do the things. And so they got a little more busy, but it was still for them very much a reset button. And what's fascinating to me about the retreats is, you're giving yourself the most nutritious of food. You're moving your body twice a day, Pilates in the morning, stretch at night. And not everyone has that in real life. And so the goal is to also create some really good habits and some really good awareness in your body. But there's also something just magical that happens on these retreats. I had a client who was not my strongest client in terms of listening and
Mm.
executing. You know what I mean? And somehow, miraculously, after this retreat, she became one of my top clients. I have no
Oh.
idea how. I don't know what happened, but
Mhm.
there was something about taking that time away and just being with her body and moving every day and like feeling the way that she could feel at her best, that just, I don't know, light bulb went off. And
Mm.
so, it's also a great way to develop incredibly deep friendships, family type relationships, which can be really important. And yeah, it's kind of a little bit of everything, but I'm very passionate about them, and I do customize. So like on this trip, I'm going to Bali, and I've
Oh.
got 3 beds left if anyone wants to jump in. And
Yeah.
one of the girls on the trip was like, listen, I just really want to see monkeys. I'm like, got you, we'll go see monkeys. And so like my goal in my heart is to make those dreams come true for every individual person who comes along.
So tell me about what's included. So not the flight,
Yep.
but okay, so when you get there,
Mhm.
um, and then
Driver
how
picks
many
you up.
how many how many yeah, driver picks you up, okay, and then
Yep.
brings you to the location.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
then how many days and nights, and how you mentioned a little bit about in Pilates in the morning and stretching at night.
Yep.
Um,
So the retreat dates are September 13th through 20th. It's a Friday to Friday.
okay.
You are responsible for booking your own flight there, although I'm happy to help you pick a good one if you need that help.
Okay.
So it includes driver to and from. The villa, we have a private villa, 3 minutes walking to the beach with an ocean view.
Nice.
You do have the option to have a discounted rate for the roommate, or you can pay for a private room. Or I actually have one option. It's kind of a big upgrade, but there's actually a studio apartment right next to the villa if someone really wanted their private time. So I've got those options. And then there's an itinerary, and the itinerary kind of gets fleshed out when you join. Like if you really want to meet monkeys, I add that to the itinerary. But the goal is that we have kind of a blend of days where we relax. I include one massage service, which comes to the villa, but you have the option to upgrade for more. We do have a chef that provides breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The only exception being if we are out on an excursion, but I'm still covering on this trip, I'm still covering that as well.
Okay.
Price also includes the excursions that I have scheduled for you. So on this one, we're going to be visiting some landmarks and some waterfalls. I also like to include a photo shoot for those who would like to opt in, just to really capture those memories. And then if someone says, hey, we don't have this on the schedule, but I'd like to do it, they would pay that difference, but I arrange it for them. We're also offering a surf or snorkeling lesson for anyone who wants.
Wow.
And obviously your room and your board and your coffee and your water and all that stuff is included. So I try to make it really fair. It is luxury. So it's on the high end as far as what's being offered. But that's one of the things I'm passionate about, I think, is having that luxurious, restful experience.
Yeah, no, it sounds beautiful. I know I saw some pictures that you shared with me. I was like,
Yeah,
wow, this is amazing.
it's pretty crazy. It's pretty
Yeah,
beautiful.
so you have three spots,
I have
three
three
beds,
beds. So I have
3 beds. Okay.
2 more slots available for roommates, like a single bed, and you could
Okay.
book with a roommate or just be open to whoever I give you. And then I have one private room king bed left.
Got
So
it.
I
Okay.
have each of those things. And the king
Okay.
bed, I do accept men and women ages 18 to 80, and I'm even flexible on that. I
Okay.
believe that everyone should feel welcomed and included. And what was cool last year, my retreat just ended up being half men, half women. And it really felt like a family in that way. You had a little bit of every life experience, which I thought was really beautiful.
Yeah.
Ages on the last retreat were 25 to 68.
Wow.
So I'm hoping to spread it out even more this time. I
I
want
love it.
everybody.
Yeah, no, I'm picturing like a mother-daughter
Yes,
thing to go do
totally.
together. Yeah, that'd
Yeah,
be really neat.
my
Or
mother's coming with me. We're doing the
mother
mother-daughter
oh,
thing.
you are? Oh,
Yeah.
fun. Or like mother-granddaughter. I'm just thinking like something really, or
Yeah.
couples, of course,
Yep.
couples together would be
Husband, wife,
really
absolutely.
amazing.
I think sometimes the retreat world kind of isolates the men in our lives. I don't understand why. I think that they deserve
Mm,
to rejuvenate and restore as much as us. So
yeah.
it can be a great bonding experience, or maybe you want to get away from them and go do your own thing. I'm flexible, but I
You're like,
want
I need a,
everyone to feel
I,
welcome.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're like, I need a minute. Okay, so then while you're on the retreat and you have the scheduled classes,
Mhm.
so in between you're doing excursions or just hanging out, whatever you want to do, and then
Yep.
how do the meals work? Just like you go for a certain time for breakfast, a certain time for lunch and dinner.
Yep. The days I keep as consistent as I can, although on a day where we're taking a big excursion, if you choose to do that, we might have breakfast at the destination, depending on how early we have to get there, because traffic in Bali is a little crazy sometimes.
I bet.
But generally speaking, you've got, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. My goal is to include a protein, fat, and fiber with every meal. I do
Okay.
accommodate for dietary restrictions such as vegan, gluten-free, vegetarian, and such.
Okay.
And the goal is to have it be very nutritious. Now, I'm not someone that's like, which means no carbs. I'm like, no, carbs are fine. We'll have what you need.
Yeah.
But we do our best to keep it generally healthy. I don't
Okay.
provide alcoholic beverages, although I won't
Mhm.
stop someone if they want a glass of wine, but that's not
Right.
something I offer. That's not like part of it.
Mhm. Okay.
And so the goal is that most of the food is prepared by the chef, again, unless we are out and about, in which case I have a pre-selected destination most of the time
Oh.
for us that I know has the good nutritious food that we need to feel our best when we're over
Oh.
there.
Okay. So when you want to go on an excursion, do you register for that book when you're registering for the retreat itself, or do you do that when you get there?
So what happens is whenever someone registers for the retreat, I send them first, I ask for their wish list if they have something they really want that's not already on the itinerary. From there, so my registration deadline actually closes Sunday, just coincidentally.
Okay.
So
Okay.
these next couple weeks are kind of my crunch time for really fleshing that out based on who's coming.
Okay.
But they get a breakdown in advance. Like on this day, like arrival day for sure, we're just gonna relax. You can walk to the beach. We'll have the massage therapists coming to us. That's gonna be a very chill day. And then maybe in a day or two after that, that's when we go and we see, a couple touristy things because we came all the way there. And so I try to kind of go back and forth, but the excursions, they are optional. If someone says, I really want to relax, I'm fine with that. It
Okay.
is all included. So I'm not nickel diming adding things like,
Oh, okay.
here's the package. If you don't want to do that part, that's fine. But here's what I'm handing you.
But you can do all the things or a few of the things and still,
Exactly.
it's just all, okay. So it's really up to you.
Yeah.
Wow. This sounds beautiful.
Yeah.
So neat. Oh, how cool. Okay. So this Sunday
Yep.
is your closing registration, probably so you
Yep.
can get everything settled with
Exactly.
over there and get everything. Okay. So there's 3 spots left. So a
Yep.
king bed,
Mhm.
right? Okay. Oh, and
Yep.
2 singles. Is that what you said?
Exactly.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
So people can think about who they want to invite. Okay. That sounds
Yeah.
really, and then where do they go to? I mean, I can put a link attached to this
Sure.
video as well. But there's a website, I'm sure, with
Yep.
registration info. Okay.
Yeah. So the website is bali.pilatesbylayah.com.
Okay.
And there are many sections, including the rough itinerary, pictures of the actual villa where we're staying, about me, about Pilates, and then registration and pricing and all that is in there as well. And
Okay.
then my email address is listed on the website, or you can also, I think you're going to link it here, but Pilates by
Yeah.
Layah@gmail.com. If you want to just email me directly, if I don't get back to you in the same day, it went to my spam. I'm not ignoring you. I will check it or read back.
Okay.
If someone happens to be, I don't really use Facebook very much, but if someone's on Instagram and they want to reach out there, that's cool too.
Okay.
But yeah, pretty much everything they need to know is on there for the most part. It's a pretty comprehensive website.
Okay. So, so I'll attach those links to here, and then also,
Okay.
so if somebody wants to get in touch with you for Pilates, either questions or info,
Sure.
they can reach you via email, right?
Yeah.
We have that. Okay. And then, oh, and then if you have anything, we talked about like an offer for them or whatever, but you've mentioned if they email you with
Yes.
saying,
So I put together a little kind of baseline workout guide, just like a very simple
oh,
handful of
yeah,
moves that are quintessential for Pilates.
yeah,
So if someone's interested in having that as a download, just shoot me an email, and you can
okay,
just put free guide in the subject or in the email
okay.
somewhere. I'll shoot that over in the next couple days.
That's so useful.
Yeah.
I love that. It makes it just
Nice.
like practical, especially if you're new to it and you're not exactly sure what it is or where to start. Sometimes just
Sure.
doing it at home by yourself
Mhm.
feels safest and most comfortable than
Yeah. Feeling
going
it out a
somewhere and
little
trying to
bit.
figure, yeah, than trying to figure it out somewhere or find the right video online or, yeah,
Totally.
no, that's really helpful. Okay. So, all right. And then anything else we're missing? So we have the guide, contact info. Okay. So yeah, so I'll put all the things she just said, the website link for the retreat, the info, her email to get in touch with her, and then she can send you the free guide if you email her with the word free guide. So I think that would be, yeah, that'd be so awesome. It's just a place to start. I just really want everybody to know like that Pilates is a thing beyond dancing or like dancers. And I know that's
Yeah.
how I thought of it first, was like, oh, it's a dancer's
Yeah.
workout. Oh, or just certain people do, but it's low impact. So people
Yeah.
who can't have impact, it's great for them, but probably increases their strength so they can do impact at some
It
level,
does.
right?
It's great for the balance, for the mind body connection, for the stabilization. It's low impact, so it's accessible to all types of bodies. But you're absolutely right. It's a great cross trainer for those who have other interests. And I do see a lot of injuries from other sports, but at the end of the day, I really believe you've got to do what you love. And so if you love this sport and it's beating you up, I will at least help you get less beat up. That will be my goal.
Yeah. Or move
But
on, or move on to something new.
yeah, but that was one of the reasons
Yeah.
I fell in love with it. I could do it even with as injured as I was. I
Mm,
saw people literally up to like 101 years old. They have things that they can do. People with one arm or one leg. There's something in Pilates they can do. And that's just not something you see everywhere. So it's very
right.
special in that way.
So are most classes about an hour long or half an hour long?
Typically 50
Depends.
minutes.
Oh, 50 minutes. Okay.
Yeah. In
So
in a
I'm thinking that people
private
can,
boutique. studio, you might have a 1-on-1 or a 3-on-1 that's a little shorter, like 30, 40 minutes. But yeah, generally
Okay.
50 is the rule.
Okay. Just so they can budget, like think about time wise, like how that would work. But I'm sure
Yeah.
if you did it for 30 minutes, if you did it for 10 minutes, it's better than.
Listen, something is better than nothing. Every single.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Right. I know that crosses over so many different subjects. Yeah.
It
A little
is.
bit
It
is better.
is.
And
Life lesson.
consistency. And that was the biggest thing with consistency, right? Right. So
Yeah.
even if you did a little bit, do it a little bit on a regular basis, you kind of get into the swing of it and then probably feel the benefit of it. And when you start feeling better, you want to do more, right? When
Totally.
you're like
It
starting to
helps
notice the
you.
benefit.
It's something that you can really fall in love with. And I think that's where the magic is in it for me, that like, I haven't met a person yet who didn't enjoy feeling good in their body.
Right.
I have
Right.
one yet. And there's a goodness. If you know, if it's executed properly and with a good instructor, you won't feel beat up on. You might feel a
Mm,
little sore, maybe a little trembly if you took a harder class, but you'll never have a pain experience. Do something
mhm.
wrong. Pilates
Right.
is not a pain sport. It's not an impact sport. It's designed for the hospital bed and then on up from there as you get stronger.
That's so yeah, I was just thinking like using it as a foundation, especially if you're playing a sport, like you said, cross training. Like,
Hmm.
for example, before we go,
Yeah.
my son plays baseball basically
Yeah.
throughout the year. And
Oh
then
yeah.
but he does swimming in the fall. So for him, that's like his cross training, but it's very core and different. But I'm picturing like athletes doing Pilates as a supplement to strengthen themselves. There's probably such an improvement in their performance
There is. Because you
because of
have
it.
strength and the rotational aspect. You're
Mm-hmm.
training one arm and one leg away. Almost every sport, think tennis, baseball, dominant side, right? Football,
Right.
dominant side. Biking, your hips are shifting, right? There's every
Mhm.
sport has this thing, and that I see that in those sports bodies all the time. And
Uh-huh.
so you want to give your body a balance here. And you
Mm,
have that mind body connection. So if you are golfing or whatever it is you're doing, that you're not just like throwing your body out, hurting your
that's
stuff.
true.
And
Yeah.
that's what's really important for athletes. And we do have,
Yeah.
we get NFL, NBA, we get all those guys and girls coming in.
Wow, that makes some yeah,
Hmm.
it's so foundational. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's why I love this. Yeah, it's only because
Yes.
anybody can do it.
Hmm.
Everybody should do it
Yes.
because it's foundational to everything that we do. Just activities of daily living.
Hmm.
Like we were talking about, like um, carrying things in from carrying bags in from your car.
Yeah.
Putting things on a high shelf. Just having the stability, just life, and
Yeah.
be able to live it with more freedom and security that your
Absolutely.
body can do these things without feeling like you need help or you feel more what's the word
Independent.
independent. Thank you. Yeah, you're much more independent in your life and you can do more things. Like I tell my kids that like it's nice to stay in shape because if your kids are like, oh, let's go for a bike ride, you're like, okay, cool, let's go and feel good and have fun. But if
Hmm.
you don't have that foundation, it's like, I can't enjoy myself or go for a hike with my kids or travel or whatever because
Yeah.
the foundation's not there. But Pilates is accessible for everybody
Hmm.
and great for, great foundation for all these things. So anyway,
Totally.
I'm excited about it now too. Thank you.
Yay. Yeah, get back in there.
Yay. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing. And if anybody wants to go on the retreat, you have till Sunday to join. I'm going to look into it again. It looks really exciting. My husband and I love traveling too. So as soon as she said that, I was like, that sounds amazing.
Ooh.
I
Come on.
I know. I'm gonna have to, talk to him. But anyway, yeah. So thank you so much for being here with us.
Yeah,
And
thank you for
she's
having
also gonna, you're welcome. She's also gonna be in our group chat for the Ageless Body Blueprint. So if any of you ladies who are in the group or my private clients have questions for her or want to know more about what she's doing, you can find her there too, which is really cool. I'll also add you to our group, our Facebook group itself. So if people they can find you easier right there and send you some messages and stuff. So anyway, so thanks again, and we will hopefully talk to you soon.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.